Welcome to SKOOLnet Live. I'm your host, Brian Marks. Today we are very appreciative and honored to have as our special guest Mr. Ignacio Salazar, the President and CEO of SARE Jobs for Progress National. Ignacio, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's really exciting to have someone of your caliber on the show today. We know there is a lot going on with the education system in the United States today, and there's some trends, and we really want to get an idea from you. Where do you see the system going? What are some of the challenges?
Well, I think everyone's pretty much aware of these statistics. Those are pretty well relayed both the public and private conversations that we have an issue with dropouts in this country. We also have an issue with making sure that individuals coming out of high school are prepared for some degree of work. And obviously beyond that, as well as post-secondary, there's a big concern with respect to can individuals afford higher education, and coming out of school, how much debt do they have as individuals, and are they prepared to secure employment that has a return on investment for them individually. And so we're looking at that whole area of education, trying to come up with best practices, best approaches that address those needs. As it relates to the elementary and secondary situation, we're obviously doing things online as a corporation, helping our affiliate network promote charter and alternative schools, because there isn't a one-size-fits-all in education. We know that there's different schemes and approaches that need to be put in place. I experienced this firsthand in working in urban areas and in rural areas, that there are different dynamics that come into play. And so as a corporation that has a national reach, a national footprint, we want to make sure that our network is prepared to address those different kinds of needs that are ever present. As it relates to post-secondary education, we're developing an approach in collaboration with other institutions that brings the cost, the affordability down to a level that is realistic. What we're seeing today is that there's more student loan debt than credit card debt as a nation, and that isn't good for the country going forward. These individuals have to pay that back at some point.
Sure.
Will they ever be able to purchase a home, buy a car, have disposable income? And so for the good of the country, we need to come up with schemes and approaches that make good sense. And so we're involved in doing that in demand occupations and keeping the cost affordable.
Great, great. Well, it's obvious that there's a lot of passion in this effort. You have quite a track record when it comes to executive leadership with large nonprofit organizations. Spans back many years. I don't have to disclose the number of years, but you've done a lot, and you really are quite a leader when it comes to the corporate community. What motivates you to really apply your business acumen to the greater good in the nonprofit world?
Well, I didn't always start out thinking that I would do this, number one. I grew up the son of migrant farm workers, and I grew up in the household with my grandparents, aunts and uncles, etc., and we were all part of one family. Actually, growing up at a very young age, I didn't know my mother was my mother. I thought my grandmother was my mother because I spent more time with my grandmother every day as a young child than I did with my actual mother. So that was a little bit of an awakening for me at some point. And also when the actual separation came and we were not on our own, that was something for me. But growing up in a family that was very poor, where everybody combined resources together to make it work, I had the intention of giving back growing up, and of doing something relevant and something that my grandparents and my family were grounded in. And so after graduating from business school as an undergraduate, I decided to work in farm worker programs for a few years to give back. And I remember having discussions with my professors, and they said, "What are you going to do, Salazar, that you graduated?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to actually be involved in farm worker programs." And I remember them saying, "Well, we didn't prepare you to do that." And today I actually think they did.
Absolutely.
And because because I was able to take that business acumen, that business knowledge, et cetera, and apply it into what we do today. And I always had that mindset, and I went on and pursued a master's degree, and then I did my doctoral work. But I always had the intent of doing something that was productive, but using that resource that I had and applying it into what we do today. And so when I got involved with SARE, that was one of the things that I recognized that was important to do. That even though we're in the nonprofit world, we still have to operate with a business mentality, with a business mindset. And so I applied those different approaches into different things that we were able to do successfully at a local level, beginning in Detroit, and then eventually spread into other parts of the country, but developing different corporate structures as well, a for-profit corporation, a not-for-profit type holding corporation, et cetera. And so that's how that all came about for me.
Great. And my understanding is that there's a whole lot going on in terms of how corporations are involved with preparing the future workforce these days, and how does education tie in? What is SARE doing to align with some of these trends in education and prepare for the needs of the future workforce and the future employment?
Well, when you look at our structure, we've changed over time, and today we have 9 members of the board from corporate America, and we belong to the Hispanic Association of Corporate Responsibility, and we've been with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and so we've had a lot of contact with corporate America, and we listen to what they say in terms of this is where they're headed, as corporations, and try to align with that thinking process, because if we do, we can develop a relationship with them. They're going to support where we're going, and that's important as well. And so we've always had the intent of working closely with corporate America and preparing individuals to meet the jobs that are available. And that's really critically important that we do that. We do groundwork level, and we do the work that's necessary in preparation, but we also want to make sure that we're leading individuals to productive employment, because that changes lives, it changes communities, and that's what we're about.
Great. Well, with that being said, how can corporations connect with SARE if they want to support some of these efforts in education and career development and so forth?
Well, through our website, we've tried to make it approachable in a way, and friendly, obviously, and anyone who has an interest in doing that can obviously call and visit with us, and we have contact with a variety of corporations throughout the country, a very extensive network of corporations, but we're always looking for new ones as well. And anyone who has that kind of interest in working and aligning with a national network that addresses the needs of over 1 million people a year in 18 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, should call us, because we're interested in forming those kind of relationships. And that's important for them to have that resource. It's important for us to develop the resources they need.
Excellent. Well, we're glad you're doing the work you're doing. Thank you for being on the show today. It was a pleasure. Until next time, school's the rule.